Hey fellas, welcome back. This is Rick. Behind me is our 2015 458 Spider. Have you guys ever wondered what it's like to own an exotic car? I know we have. There's so many myths surrounding these type of cars, right? Things such as, man, they're so expensive to maintain, they're unreliable, there's no storage space, I don't want the car always in the shop and I'll never be able to enjoy it, the insurance is too expensive. I mean, the list goes on and on. So we've had this car maybe 5-6 years now, and we want to give you our insights on ownership of this particular car. Of course, when we talk about exotic cars, it doesn't have to be a 458, right? It can be any exotic car, McLarens, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Aston Martins, whatever. But generally speaking, this car has been rock solid reliable for us. So if you guys want to hear about that experience, follow along in this video and we'll cover some of those things. Thank you. Myth number one, these cars being unreliable is totally false. The modern Ferrari is pretty much a bulletproof car. Unless you do something crazy to it or you modify it. In stock form, it's rock solid, reliable. We've never had a single issue with this car in our term of ownership. All right, guys, we're back. So I got two cars behind me. I got the GT3 and I got the 458. People always ask me, which car do you like driving better? And I gotta be very honest with you. If I had to pick a car to drive, it has to be the GT3. The reason is because I just love rolling my own gears and shifting. It's a 6-speed manual, the Ferrari is a paddle shift. The two cars are pretty similar in some ways. They both have a 9,000 red line. They go about their business totally differently. The GT3 is a flat 6, of course. The 458 is a V8. Both are naturally aspirated, both are rear-wheel drive. So let's go take a closer look at the 458 on some things that you probably didn't know about the car that we just found out, over the years of ownership, right? So let's go take a look at it. All right, we're looking at the 2015 458 Spider. I want to show you some unique features about the car. Let's go take a look at the front first because this thing is so big. Let's see if I get this thing open. Oh, wow. Ian, what are you doing in there?
Comfy in there.
Is it? Is it that big?
Yeah, it's pretty easily to fit me.
Okay, so what I was gonna say was this frunk is absolutely huge. You can see it fits Ian in here, but he's maybe 5'4", so that gives you an idea how big the frunk is on this thing. Massive. Easily weekend bags, bowling bags, a double bowling bag can fit in there. Look at the depth of this thing. None of the other exotic cars that we've owned has this kind of space. Now, one of the hat tricks of the 458 Spider is a drop top. And unlike the soft tops found on the Huracans and some of the other vehicles, this is a hard top convertible that pretty much disappears within 15 seconds of you pressing the button. It's super clean, rock solid, very safe, and when it transforms, it looks amazing. Okay, so sitting in the cabin of the 458, one thing I want to note is besides the horn buttons being embedded in the steering wheel, which is super cool, the turn signals are individual left and right. This is unique to Ferrari because even on Lamborghini, they don't do this. So Ferrari, you want to turn left, you hit left. You want to go right, you turn right. I happen to have a Lamborghini steering wheel here. This is a Huracan wheel. So on the Huracan wheel, if I want to go signal, it's like a motorcycle style, but with my left thumb. Signal left, signal right, cancel. So all the signals on one side of the Lamborghini wheel, whereas on the Ferrari, you got individual buttons. One thing I do like about the European cars, the 458, the Lamborghini, the McLaren, which I know is British, but they all mount the paddles to the steering column. They are not mounted to the steering wheel itself. You can see in the back here. Cars like the C8 Corvette, the Acura NSX second gen, they still mount the paddles to the steering wheel. So when you turn the wheel, the paddles are with the wheel. I like it on the steering column, which is fixed, so you always know where they're at 3 and 9 o'clock. Best part with the paddles on the column is when you get to a stop and you want to be in neutral, you just double tap. You can relax, put your foot off as long as it's not sliding. You can rev the car. And then when you're ready to get going, you don't need to hit any buttons down here. You just tap the right paddle here, engage first gear, and you're off. So that's one of the things I like about this. The second gen NSX that we also have doesn't do this. So that's kind of an inconvenient feature. If you put it into neutral with the button, you gotta hold it back in gear and press the drive button before you can get going. So here, just tap first gear, ready to go. All right, walking up on the 458, the car is a pretty car. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's one of classic Ferrari lines. It's, you know, this is of course the drop top. But when you look at this car, and let's get up close to it, there's some things that really stand out on the vehicle itself. The red interior obviously kind of pops, but let's take a look at some things that people don't really know about the 458. So let's take a look. So one of the things this car has is, to me, is a deal breaker, is the carbon seat buckets. The car can come with three or four different types of seats. The other seats just don't look right on a 458. They're comfortable, but they just don't look good. On the Spider, to me, the carbon seats is the deal breaker, because look at this thing. When the top is down, imagine just having regular seats in here and not having these carbon buckets. But there's some cool stuff about the carbon buckets, because like this Porsche behind over here does have carbon buckets as well, but it's fixed. It doesn't move, it's stuck. You can't even fold the seats down. Now coming over here and looking at this thing, check this out. So they are bucket seats, they're fully manual, so they slide back and forth using this this little thing down here. So you pull it, and you can slide it back and forth. And then if you want to gain access to the back of the car, something cool is there's a little lever back here. Let me see if I can show you. See this lever right here? So if you pull it, it reclines the seat. Now you can really see those carbon seat buckets. Take a look at the back. The 458 has this nifty rear shelf, which I know people laugh. They're like, come on, that's not really storage. But that is a ton of space to store your laptop bags, your duffel bags for the weekend. Not to mention that front you guys saw earlier. Remember the front of the car, how big it was? So this is really cool with the carbon seats, where the seats actually fold, okay? So that's one of my favorites. Getting in the car, let's go take a look at a couple things. Okay, sitting in the car, a couple things that stand out. I mean, the dash is unique to Ferrari, of course. This is all Ferrari stuff, everything, you know. It's not, you know, shared with any other vehicles. That's the beauty of Ferraris, right? The thing I thought was pretty cool was, if you look down here, okay, there's a key. So there's this is for the lifter on the vehicle to lift the front end. This one is actually for the glove box. So we hit this button, the glove box is gonna pop open, which is kind of a neat little feature. Now this car, if you guys are crazy music guys and you love your music, just be aware that this car has only two real options from the factory. You got the 30-pin iPod connector, which you can see my classic little iPod in here for music. You have a USB over here, and then you have a CD changer, which some of you guys probably don't even know what CDs are, but I'll show you. Let's put the key in. So this car still uses the key, which is one of my favorites. We'll turn the key to the on position. I think that'll energize the radio. We won't start the car right now. All right, so here we go. You can hear it working. There's my CD. So you can load up to 6 CDs into this slot for music, or you can use the iPod or the USB. But a lot of guys are like, what about CarPlay? Really, from the factory, there's no CarPlay option. I noticed some aftermarket stuff, but we didn't want to mess with it. So pretty much just those are your options. Another interesting thing is, when we first got the car for a while, we didn't know how to lock and unlock the door. There's actually a button for the door lock and unlock, which you see right there. It's not in your common position. So, you know, people are scrambling around looking at the doors for the power door lock switch. You got your power window switches here, but nothing on the doors, you can tell. So we couldn't find the door lock. So for a while we were struggling until we knew that the door lock button is here. This car, believe it or not, actually has home link. So there's your home link buttons for your garage. There's 3 of them there. That's pretty neat. All right, quick close up. This button right here, you pull it, that releases the latch for the engine cover, which you can see here. Now on the Spyders, you don't get to see the whole engine. To some people, that's a deal breaker. To me, not a big deal because I don't really care to see the engine anyway. You got this cool cover and cowl when the top is down. I'll much rather have that than the glass to see the engine. And one of the things about the Spyders that a lot of guys don't know is when the weather is bad and you're still driving the car, you can roll this back window down. You see this window right here? Think of the Toyota Tundras where the back window rolls up and down. So the top comes up to about there. So that's if the hard top is up. This window opens down. You can hear this glorious motor on any time you want by rolling this window down using the switch found over here. Now I'm gonna roll the window down really quick here and show them the window again. So much difference with the window down in the back, and this is one of the cool things about the Spyder. So by doing that, you can hear the motor actually better than the coupes, because the coupes, all you have is that glass, and that window does not roll down on the coupes. All right, guys. So there's your engine. Two other cool buttons that I want to show you is, it's kind of unusual, but here in the footwell here, you got buttons. One opens the front. One is for your gas cap release. You got your e-brake release here, although you don't really need to release it each time because when you put the car in gear, the car will automatically release the e-brake. And you say, well, that's cool, but no big deal. But in other cars, it doesn't do that. There's cars we have where you have to physically remove the e-brake each time just to get the car moving. The car will not automatically disengage the e-brake. So Ferrari, good job on that. Automatic disengage when you pull the paddles. The car engages, you just drive off and the e-brake disengages. All right, real quick on the passenger side, you also have the quick release. Release, seats roll down, access to the rear shelf, beautiful carbon seat backs again. But the passenger seat has one more neat trick. So for those of you guys who have kids, you know, I have two kids. When they were young, it was nice to have them in a booster or a car seat or whatever. We never used it in this car because we didn't have it back then. But take a look down here. There is two child latch systems. This is big because on cars of this caliber, usually you're never going to find the latch system. The latch system, for those who don't have kids, allows you to latch in a baby seat right into it so you don't have to use the seatbelt. Otherwise, you have to use that seatbelt to hold the baby seat in place and it's just not as secure. This one has a latch system, which is unheard of. Not only is this a Ferrari with a latch system, but these are carbon race buckets. So good job again, Ferrari, for doing something that nobody else does. All right, call me old school, call me 90s, call me whatever. I don't really like transponders and keys in your pocket. I like an old-fashioned key. The 458 is the last model Ferrari that has a key. You can see here. And the keys, you know, yes, you do need to insert it into the column. You do need to turn it. But once you turn it, you get a nice feeling. The lights come on, you hit this button. Car comes alive. To me, that's still fun, and I still like my keys. So this is not cold start. The car's been started a few times, but you can hear it's warming up. Tap the paddle, it'll engage first gear, and then you're on your way. If you want to engage neutral again, you either tap two paddles or you just leave the one paddle on. One of the cool things about this car is even though it's an exotic car, it still has a backup camera. I know it's an option, not every Ferrari has it, but with the backup camera, you can see here, it's actually pretty good. I mean, it's not the highest resolution, but for a car of this caliber, having a backup camera is nice, just makes it easier to see where you're going. So in the garage, right now we're in the shop garage. This thing sounds awesome. Just keep in mind, this is a stock exhaust, fellas. Listen to this thing. That sounds awesome, right? All right, so let's talk about ownership costs. People always ask that question. I know people always ask, hey, how much did you pay for that car? how much is this? How much is that? And I think most of that comes from curiosity. I know some people don't like to say how much they paid for a vehicle or something, but the operational and maintenance costs on an exotic car is always something that comes up as a question. So I'll go over some basic stuff, nothing specific, but I mean, I'll show you some cool things. So I mean, here's a window sticker on the vehicle. So this sticker for this particular car is a 2015 Spider. This was, let's see, 338,785. So it has a lot of options on it. That's why it's around 338. I think the highest 458 sticker that I've seen is around 380, 390 range. And at that price point, you're kind of knocking on the doors of a Special. But of course, Specials have gone up in price, so that's not really a factor anymore. This particular one has a neat option. There's this rear piece you see in carbon. I've seen a lot of 458s when we were shopping for ours, and most of these are body colored. You don't see many of these in carbon, so that's a really nice piece in the middle. Of course, it's got carbon on the inside, it's got carbon on the pillars and stuff, but this is a piece that you don't see very often. So go look at your Spider or your 458 and you'll see that most of these are body color. So I think that is a cool piece that it has as one of the options on there. I think when we got it, we've had this car 5-6 years now. The DMV fees when we first got it was around about 3,000, close to 3,000. I think it was like 28. And then and the way that California works is weird, but they charge you property tax every year. So every year you pay, but it's a little bit less. I think this year we paid, it was around $1,400. So that's what the DMV fee is for the car per year. Fun fact, I have a friend with a Pagani. We were talking the other day and he mentioned, oh, Rick, you know what my DMV fee on this thing is? He pays nearly $16,000 a year for this thing on his Pagani. So, I mean, I guess if you compare it in that respect, this car is pretty cheap, right? So I have a stack of all my DMV paperwork here. But yeah, the last one I think we paid right around $1,400. Ferrari maintenance, when we first got the vehicle, it had very low miles. The previous owner just basically never drove it. It was in storage. I think the battery was dead because by the time we got it, it died on the transport. We had to learn how to jump start it in that narrow, confined space of a transport truck. Climb in there. The battery is on the passenger footwell. We had to go in there with a portable jumper, start the vehicles because the car will not go into neutral or will not move unless you start it. So we were able to jump start it, move the car out, got a new battery at Ferrari. This was back in 2020, I think. So Ferrari charged us around $1,400. My memory serves me right. That was for the battery, the maintenance, oil, service. So $1,450, I think, for those two things, which to me wasn't too bad. And then we've done service every year on the vehicle. The fluids, the oil typically run at $400 or $500. So that's pretty reasonable in my eyes. And then recently we did a service with the brakes and all that stuff and the fluids, the flush, the filters. I think that came out to just around $2,600. So our overall maintenance cost on this vehicle is not as bad as people think. Everything is pretty reasonable on par for a vehicle of this price range, I think. Insurance was the only thing that was not mentioned earlier, but the insurance, I think we pay about $300 a month for full coverage on this vehicle. So that's $3,600 a year plus whatever gas, for driving it. We average about 1,200 miles a year on the vehicle. So you can do the math, but I think everything is within reason for a car of this caliber. You're not expecting, unexpected expenses or anything that broke, no leaky shocks, no check engine lights, anything that was really expensive. So overall, I think the maintenance cost on this vehicle is well within reason. All right, one thing we didn't touch upon is a warranty. So this car is a 2015. It comes with a 7-year warranty, which just puts us to 2022. And then if you want to buy an extended warranty, it's about $5,000 per year to extend the powertrain warranty. So the only other consumable on this car would be the tires. If you drive the car a lot, put a lot of miles on the car, you will need new tires. We didn't drive enough to really wear through the tires that quickly because we had aftermarket wheels and tires. So back to that myth from the beginning about exotic cars being expensive to own. Is that true? I would say with this car, It is not expensive to own. It is definitely going to cost you more than a Toyota or Honda. But when people buy cars of this type, they're expecting these costs. So overall, this is a low maintenance, very easy to own car with lots of storage and easily drivable by day. All right, well, that brings us to the end of this video. Hope you guys learned a few things. I know I always learned a couple things on this particular Ferrari. It's pretty unique. It's not your typical supercar because it actually is reliable, and you can drive it pretty much anywhere with the front lifter system that's on the vehicle from the factory. I love this car. It's an awesome vehicle. It's one of the best sounding cars stock. You know, even against the modified GT3 exhaust setup, this Ferrari sounds, I think, still better. So, I mean, if you guys have comments, questions, let us know. We'll be happy to answer it for you. Until next time, see you guys later. Bye-bye.